Hello, welcome back to the JSONR channel. Today we're going to cover change management, reconciliation, automating the process, and automating the workflow. In this case, we're going to cover specifically Guardium data, database activity monitoring, reconciliation against the ServiceNow system on the SonarG platform. The first step is to have the data from the database activity. In this case, we're filtering by DDL. So this is the activity that comes from Guardium. So we have the date of the events, your database server, all the details that come from the database audits. Here's the SQL statements, and as you can see, everything comes with the same DB username. Also, pooled account, either the system or the user's code. There's no accountability who did what. So using different APIs, we can mark our activity. Either we can mark it with a specific ticket number, or we can do reconciliation based on when the event took place. Because usually change management systems have a start and end window, and at least some kind of username and or database identifier or a DB server that we can do the reconciliation with. If we are provided with the ticket number, that's totally deterministic. That's even better. We can do an exact match. Okay, so once we have the data stored in Guardium, stored in SonarG, and filtered by either the DB server or the type of activity. In this case, we're recording all changes, DDL, so database changes to the particular production environment. Now we're ready. The next step is to go and pull the data from ServiceNow. In this case, we have a ServiceNow system with all kinds of incident numbers. Right, these incidents get all created, and systems like ServiceNow, they make this information available via lots of APIs or direct connection to the data, or they export CSV. In the case of ServiceNow, it's very nice. They're very advanced. They provide an API where we can connect to the system via REST API, a web service, and make a request to pull the latest records, the latest information about the ticket information. So if we go back to SonarG, we have the ability, we're starting with version 3.1 and above, we have the ability to call web service APIs. In this case, we have this scheduled job. It's called ServiceNow pool. And as you can see, the job URL, it's not referencing the SonarG system or anything else. It's actually pointing to the URL for the ServiceNow web service. So this is a specific call to go and pull the tickets. Right, it's all in the documentation for ServiceNow. So we simply put that URL in the system, schedule it to run as often as we need to run it. And for the authentication and the details, the username and password, we have we make reference to a web service where it's configured the details of how to connect, pretty much the credentials, because the credentials are not in the URL. So only SonarG knows the credentials. Once we have that, it's easy. I mean, it runs on a schedule, or I can run it run once now. It's going to connect to that web service and pull the data. I can look at my jobs in SonarG. And I can see now, just now, at 1:54 p.m., we have this in the queue, the ServiceNow pull job that we just generated. So I just hit a refresh. It's very quick. You just complete it, and here's our URL that was executed. Okay, so the next step is to verify that we have the data. So we can close this for now. There's different ways of looking at the data in SonarG. One of the quickest one is just to access it with the Discover with SonarK. So we open SonarK in the system. We point it to the collection of where we're storing the ServiceNow tickets. It's called SonarG ServiceNow. Here are my tickets. For example, if I want to look at a particular ticket number, so I'm looking for incident number 010001. Here's my details. This is the entire record from ServiceNow. Right, it tells me when it was created, the approval, the assigned to, description of what needs to be done, the comments, all the details from ServiceNow. Everything is available now. Here's the incident number 001. The priority, the description, everything we could possibly need for a nice tight integration. If I remove this filter, again, we see all the records. Right, I can say, show me description, number, and assign to. So this is a quick view of all our ticket numbers, right, and the descriptions. Okay, so we're ready. So we have the data from the database activity. We have the data from ServiceNow that we're automatically pulling with the API. Now we can reconcile it. So if we go back to the Sun reports I showed earlier, DTL with incident details. Now I can talk about the new columns that are on the right. So I show you that the first few columns is the data from the database audit. In this case, the database audit contained the ticket number, so we could do an exact match, which is the optimal scenario. But it's not the only scenario. See, now for each ticket, for each SQL that was executed, we can associate it with a ServiceNow detail. This data labeled ServiceNow came from the ServiceNow join. So the SonarG source is ServiceNow. This is the assigned to from the ticket. Here's the ServiceNow description. Fixed production records, unable to log into the SAP sales application, the priority, the impacts, short description, and the state. One of the new features that we enable with SonarG is because we're going to have a lot of changes, so this needs to be approved by the different database owners. In this case, the last column, the username, that's a signal for SonarG to say this is the DB owner for this particular system. And there's different ways of determining DB owner. A simple way could be based on the server hostname, or server hostname and the database name. Right, so if you have the database name and the DB name and the instance and the server, I can determine that these databases are owned by either this particular user, or they can also be owned by a particular role, like an application owner role or a DBA role, whoever is responsible for approving these changes. In this case, they're being routed to rodrigo@jsonar.com. And then we're going to show you how the last step is to automatically deliver them through the workflow. So if I log out of the admin account, log in as the Rodrigo user. So now besides the reports out of the box, I have this Justify application. So I go to the Justify application. On the left side, there's different workflows for different things in the system. You can have outlier workflows, different reports. In this case, we have a section for ServiceNow. As you can see here, there's lots of events for me to work on. So I select these 3 tickets. The next thing I do is I own these changes, so I need to justify them. So I said start working on these. They get signal green just in case I'm working in a team. Other people in my team, in my role, can see that somebody's working on those particular tickets. Now I can see the details from the database audit on the top, and then here's the ServiceNow data. So I have everything I need to approve this, make sure it's accurate, and I can do the final sign off on it as the owner of this server. So I have this status, so I do this justify button. Anyway, these actions can be totally customized based on the different stages that the tickets need to travel in each organization. So before I submit this and they get labeled as closed, I have to put some extra fields. So in this case, we have an optional ServiceNow ticket. Let's say the activity was performed without a ticket number. This is my chance to associate a ticket number with it, with activity that was maybe performed during an emergency window or at midnight, but there was no ticket. So I have plenty of chances to enrich the information back with the information that it needed originally, the ticket number. In this case, I'm not going to put anything there because I have the ticket, but if it were missing, I would add it there. And comments, in this case, is a mandatory field because it has an asterisk. I can say this is approved production change. So as soon as I perform this action, now they are in the closed states, and the information that I submitted, everything is recorded associated with this ticket. Now this event is closed. It's ready to be reviewed by auditors later on, or anyone who needs to audit the activity changes in the production environment. Yes, this completes this demo. For any more detailed information, please contact us at jsonar.com. Thanks.